beautiful. Welcome. This is your quick recap of the entire action file challenge. Hopefully, my goal is 5 minutes or less. Let's see if I can do this. All right. So if you missed the action file, the incoming paper challenge where we're building our action file, or if you just want a quick recap that you can refer back to, this is how the action file works, how to build it, and how to use it in as fast as I can go. Okay, let's start with, what is an action file? An action file is one place for every new paper that comes into your home, your mail, the flyers you bring in, as well as any to-do papers, your active papers. So anything that comes into your home or that still has something that needs to be done with it goes in your action file. That's its first stop in its path into your home and into your paper system. So I call it the action file because each tab, each folder in your action file is not labeled based on the type of paper it is, like a traditional file system. It's labeled based on what is the next action needed for that paper. So when a paper comes in, you file it in what action is needed for the paper. Now, to build your action file, let's quickly go through the supplies of your action file. Then we'll talk about all the different folders, how they work, talk about where you can place them, and we will talk about how things get out of your action file, how it fits into your paper system, and finally we'll wrap up with how to remember to check the papers in your action file, because if you're not checking it, it's not working, right? So let's do this. The supplies that you'll need. Now, the necessary supplies, the ones that you can't do without, will be a file box, preferably something small. Now, an action file will have 10 files at the maximum. You don't ever want any more than 10 files because we want our brain to be able to make fast decisions, and the fewer choices it has, the less it has to work. So we're taking our brain out, making it super easy, 10 files or less. So your holder should only hold 10 file folders or less. Aside from the actual holder itself, this one can sit on the desk or be mounted on a wall. You will need folders. Like I said, you won't need more than 10 folders. You will never have more than 10. And you will just need some labels. Now, this is a hanging file box. You would get the hanging file folders, letter sized, and you're good to go. How each folder in your file works. Well, we start with some basic folders. These are the folders that most people will use. If any of these don't apply to you, just don't put them in your action file. Now, some of the folders that we start with are to enter. Now, our to enter file folder would be for anything where you don't need anything else off the paper besides to enter information from the paper somewhere else. So some examples of this would be a business card. Somebody hands you your business card, their business card. You want to enter it into your contacts. So you put the business card into enter. Every once in a while, you grab your to enter file and you just enter things wherever they need to be entered. So that business card, once you've entered it into your phone, you can then either purge the card or you can file it if you need to keep it long term. To read, this is where the only action that you need to do that you know of for your first action is to read it, right? So usually these are not high priority to do reads. This would be magazines. The new magazine comes in, the old one goes out of your to read. Insurance policy, if you want to read your insurance policy before you file it, it might go into read. Things like that, where the first action you need to do is just simply read through it. We have to scan. So if you scan your papers in order to save them, then to scan is your next action with it, is just to scan it. We have to file. All of the actions with the paper are done. The only thing that's needed is to keep it longer term. So to file, you put it into file. And then finally, you might have noticed I skipped this first one. It's to do. Now, this is the only folder that you have to check on a regular basis. The other ones, when you get around to it, you can do it, but they won't cause any problems if you don't do it quickly. To do is the only one that you have to set up some habits and reminders for. To do would be anything that has an action that would not be included in any of your other file folders. So an example might be a phone call to make, an RSVP to return, a receipt for an item that you have to return to a store. So to do is all of those actions that would not fit into the others. Now, those are the basic folders. Aside from the basic folders, you can add some custom folders if you have a specific situation that's unique to you. Some examples might be to follow up. If you have a number of items that You simply need to follow up with it in a certain amount of time to see if it processed or to make sure that it went through. To follow up is a really good one. Something like to mom, if you have kids and they bring in papers a lot of the times that you have to review, they can put it right in the to mom folder. It also works for to spouse if you need to discuss something with your spouse or give it to them. Some other ones, if you make a whole lot of phone calls and you have a lot of papers that would go along with it, to call. You see how each of these would start with the word to. Every new folder, if you can do it, make it an action word. If you can put the word to in front of it, then it is a good name for your action folder. There are occasional times where a customized folder might have a name that's not an action. If you have a temporary project that has a lot of papers coming in and out that you need fast access to, something like maybe you're doing a home renovation, you could temporarily have a folder called home renovation in your action file and put all papers in there for that home renovation. Then once the renovations are done, that's when you would take it out and file whatever you need to file, purge what you don't need anymore. Now, where do you put your action file? Now, the goal is for this to be extremely easy to use. So you want this to be in an easy place to reach. Two options for this. One is in a major walkway where you already walk when you come home with the mail, right? So, for example, if you normally come through the garage, through the laundry room, into the house with your mail, that's a great place. Maybe you place this in your laundry room. If you normally come through the front door, maybe you place it next to the front door. You want it to be somewhere where you're already walking right past it so you don't have to change your path in order to put papers into it. The other option would be, where do you normally already drop your mail? Where are you already putting it? If you're putting it on the kitchen counter, this goes on the kitchen counter where you place your mail. So that way you see it, and instead of putting it on the counter like your habit is, you see it and you can put it right in there. Dining room table, this goes on the dining room table if that's where you normally drop your mail. Just make this super easy. Don't have a lid on it. Don't put it upstairs or in a back room. Make it super, super simple, at least while you are learning to use it. Once it's a habit to put your papers into it, then you can move it a little bit further away if that's necessary. Now, where does this fit into your paper system, right? I said this is temporary storage. So all papers that come into your home can hit this action file. Even if they're just to file, everything can go in here. And the only ways out of your action file are either to file the paper, right? Or to purge it, shred it, recycle it, burn it, however you discard your papers. So once it's made it to the to file folder, then this would simply, everything in that folder basically gets filed. When it gets full, it gets filed, I say. You don't have to worry about filing all the time. If it's not in your file folder or a file cabinet, it's going to be in this folder, right? From this to file folder, it will go in one of your main areas of your file system. Your file system can include short-term files, long-term files, and special papers. If you're not familiar with these, then make sure to check out other information about my paper pyramid and all the parts of your paper structure. I have other videos on that, but that's where you would file these. So this is the first step that then feeds into that paper system for the papers that you need to keep longer term. Now let's give you some quick examples on different paper types and where they would go. So an example might be a bank statement. If a bank statement comes in, think about what you normally do with your bank statement. What's your first action that you normally take? For me, I normally review it before I then purge it. So I would put it in to do because I just want to look it over really quickly. And then if everything's accurate, I'm going to shred it because for myself, I scan the versions that I download from online. An option could be you put it in to do. When you review it, if you then find a problem with it, it can go back into do because now there's a different action that's needed. Maybe I need to call the bank. And then once I call the bank and resolve whatever issue I found, I might need to file it now to prove that I called the bank and resolved the issue. So it would go into file. That's an example. Insurance policy. If you want to just read through your insurance policy before it gets filed, then put it into read because you don't have any other types of information that you can think of, any other actions that you need to do besides just read through it. So stick it into read. Once you've read it, it can go into file. So those are a couple of examples. Now, how to remember to check your action file, that's the most stressful part for anybody, right? Especially if you're an out of sight, out of mind person. Now, if you're really good with scheduling, you can enter on your calendar specific times that you will check your action file, especially just the to-do folder is the main one that you want to check. The other ones, when you get time, you can hop over and deal with them, but the to-do folder is the only one that we're going to make reminders to check. So if you're great with the calendar, add in maybe every Saturday morning, you check your action file to-do folder. Now, when you check it, that does not mean you have to do everything in the to-dos, right? That's the key. Checking it does not mean doing it. So checking it can take a matter of minutes. What I like to do with my to-dos is when I have a number of papers within my to-do folder, when I decide to check my to-do folder, I pull them out. I look to see what needs to be done before the next time I plan to check my action file to-do folder. So for me, if I'm checking it once a week, what needs to be done before the next Saturday when I check it again? And I will pull out any papers that need to be done before the next time I'm going to check it. And for you out of sight, out of minders, you're going to like this. I just clip it to the front of my action file. That way I can see these are the things that need to be done right now, or at least before the next time that I check the action file. So you can always see what's actually urgent versus the things that can wait. Another option, if you are not an out of sight, out of minder, you can even have a separate to-do folder of to do now and make it bright red, make it stand out, and separate anything that's due urgently into that one. And then just make a habit of checking that to-do folder, seeing what's coming up that needs to be done. But that's it. So if this is interesting to you, I hope that you enjoy setting up your action file. I always have plenty of additional information about the action file available on the YouTube channel, on my website, and you can feel free to send me any questions you have at hello@suzannakaye.com. And then if you are ready to build out the rest of your paper system, right now we do have the Paper Path course and membership enrollment is open. Currently it is open through March 30th at the store, SuzannaKaye.com. You can go to the store link and you can find the Paper Path course and the Path membership are both available through March 30th for enrollment. That will lead you one step at a time through building every single part of your paper system. We tell you how to, I give you more information about the action file, go much more in depth. We talk about short-term files, self-purging files, long-term files. So you set up your file system so you know exactly where every paper goes. Talk about important papers and building a life binder like that one. So you have quick access to the most important information and your loved ones know everything that they might need to know. We talk about special papers, and if you have a lot of papers to sort, maybe you have boxes of papers, of old papers, or a file cabinet really filled with old papers, I teach you the onion method, which is the easiest way to sort all of those old papers. So check out the Paper Path course and Path membership. And if you do grab it before Tuesday, March 28th, I do have some bonuses for you. You can get the welcome party webinar, which will help you get started at the, started off right. I kind of review the online course, where everything is, how to work through it, and the membership. I tell you all the different benefits of the membership and how to use them. And if you add on the Path membership to your purchase, then you will also get 1 month of that for free. That's only if you grab the Paper Path course and Path membership. Now until the 28th, you get the bonuses, and then the Paper Path course closes March 30th. And it won't be available for enrollment again until later this year. So next steps, build out the rest of your paper system one step at a time, the easy way. So that way all of your 2 file folders have an easy process to go to. But you've got this. If you have any questions, email me at hello@suzannakaye.com, and I'll see you soon, beautiful.